With mobility being one of the key challenges in front of enterprises this year, we're having a lot of companies reaching out to us with the questions: how do we effectively mobilize content stored in SharePoint? How do we bridge the mobile productivity gap? How do we make our mobile workforce truly productive while they're out there in the field? Sure, they've seen a lot of basic applications out there providing access to SharePoint content on mobile devices. However, in order to ensure a high level of mobile worker productivity, enterprises require a complete solution which addresses all the challenges inherent in mobile work in a secure, manageable, and highly configurable fashion for a great first-time user experience. My name is Kirill Matev, and I'm a solutions consultant with Infogistics. In this video, I'll take you through SharePlus Enterprise and illustrate how it addresses the challenges in mobile work and how it can help you make your mobile workforce highly effective while on the go. For personal use or small-scale mobilization efforts involving fewer than 30 devices, we recommend using SharePlus from the Apple iTunes App Store. However, for larger initiatives of 30 or more mobile workers, we recommend using SharePlus Enterprise, which can be centrally deployed, managed, configured, and is fully supported by our support team. Using SharePlus Enterprise, we have enabled organizations to mobilize thousands of workers and hundreds of SharePoint sites, and we're well aware of the challenges when accessing SharePoint content away from the office. In this video, I'll take you through each of these challenges and demonstrate how SharePlus Enterprise addresses them using unique functionality, providing a highly productive, mobile-first, touch-first optimized experience. So let's open SharePlus Enterprise and get started. The very first challenge that mobile workers have when accessing content is navigation. As they're not in an office, mobile workers get interrupted quite often, and their productivity and engagement directly depends on being able to get to the content they need as quickly as possible. SharePlus dramatically simplifies navigation by offering separate views for documents and sites directly accessible from the navigation bar on the left. Since a lot of the mobility scenarios are document-centric, let's start our tour with the Documents Content Hub. The Documents Content Hub can be accessed simply by tapping on the Documents item in the middle of the navigation panel on the left. It brings together into a single view all the documents a user needs on a daily basis. It allows users one-tap access to content they've used recently, content they're following, or content recommended for them by SharePoint 2013. If a user wants to access any of these documents, they can do so with a single tap. So I can access this first document here in the list of recent files simply by tapping on it, and this causes it to open within the Word file previewer that ships together as part of iOS. An important note here is that if you're using SharePoint 2007 or 2010, you won't see the list of followed or recommended documents in this view, but you will still be able to access the list of recently used documents. Also, by tapping on the buttons along the bottom, you can easily access documents from a variety of sources. For example, favorite documents, my documents, which essentially provides access to content stored in the user's SharePoint My Site, local files, so these are files that I'm working on locally on my device and I have not uploaded yet to SharePoint, and of course, documents edited by me. Using these views, users are able to get to the content they've stored locally in SharePoint sites or on their personal My Site. The key advantage here is that they can do all of this without knowing which site, subsite, and document library the document is actually stored in, which is essential for ensuring a high level of productivity for mobile users, especially those who've never used SharePoint before. If users would like to access SharePoint sites, they can do so using the Sites Content Hub, which is accessible by tapping on the Sites item in the middle of the navigation panel on the left. This view presents the sites the user have added themselves, sites pre-configured for them by the administrator, together with the sites they're following and those recommended for them by SharePoint 2013. Just like in the Documents Content Hub, when SharePoint 2007 and 2010 are used, the list of followed and recommended sites simply isn't visible. So from this view, a user can navigate to any of the sites simply by tapping the corresponding item in this list. So let me navigate to some of the sub-sites in this demo site we have set up here. So you can see I can browse the picture galleries, the lists, the document libraries present in this site. But for the time being, we'll go right up back to the sites view. A user can easily go back up to the top level view by tapping on the button in the top left corner. In addition to the sites pre-configured for them in the central configuration file, a user can also add sites manually. They can do that simply by tapping on the plus button on the top right, entering the name of the site, the URL, and the authentication mechanism to be used in this dialog. SharePlus supports a variety of authentication methods, including Windows-based, Forms-based, Office 365, and web login, enabling you to connect to your SharePoint servers in a wide variety of scenarios. When setting up a site, the user needs to choose an account to use for authentication or create a new one by tapping the Create New Account button. So let's do that now. I can see all the accounts which I have defined previously, so these are used to authenticate to the sites that I have added myself. So let's create a new account here. In this dialog, the user needs to enter the credentials along with any optional authentication resources such as client-side certificate, which will be used to authenticate to this particular site from this point on. So once a user adds an account and a site, they're ready to use it. However, one of the important advantages of using SharePlus Enterprise is that the list of sites can be pre-configured in the central configuration file, allowing your users to immediately start using content the very first time they open the application, instead of adding sites manually, typing lengthy URLs. So coming back to the sites view, it's worth mentioning the favorites view, which allows users one-tap access to sites they use frequently and which they've manually added to their list of favorites. You can see I've added 2 of these sites here, and I can access them simply by tapping on these items in the favorites view. In summary, you can see how the sites view brings together sites from a variety of sources to provide a user-friendly, fast navigation experience that can take a user directly to the content they need. The most effective solution to the navigation challenge is the Launchpad concept, which is unique to SharePlus Enterprise. Launchpads can be accessed by tapping on the item immediately below the Documents item in the navigation panel on the left. So a Launchpad is simply an HTML page rendered inside SharePlus, which allows you to create highly customized experiences to effectively navigate and consume content from any data source in your organization and beyond. So let me illustrate how powerful Launchpads can be by using 3 examples. In this Launchpad sample, the focus is on simplifying navigation. You can imagine a salesperson who needs to consult their product information sheets right before they go into a customer meeting or when traveling. In order to enable them to access content quickly, a user needs to be able to navigate without having to read the text labels of individual links. So using a Launchpad such as the one here with large, brightly colored regions allows the user to do just that, navigate quickly based on the colors and the location of these conveniently sized rectangles. So when I tap on one of these rectangles, I'm immediately taken to the corresponding location in SharePoint, and I can interact with content without ever knowing where these files are actually stored. Even after so many demos, I still don't know which server and site this content is actually stored in. And the great thing is that I never need to think about this. I can access this content directly from the Launchpad. In this case, the Launchpad provides direct entry points to the documents I'm using, allowing me to open, edit, and easily go back to the top-level Launchpad. Here, right at my fingertips, are links to dashboards, for example, links to the different departments in the organization, which I can access with a simple tap. You can see the flexibility of HTML rendering, allowing us to present the different options in a pop-up. In addition to this, I can also access search, the communities in my organization that I have access to, as well as the built-in SharePlus settings. So you can see how this Launchpad provides us one-tap access to all the content that I use as a user. In case you also need to integrate access to web pages, for example, site homes, including visualizations, or any other internal or external site, you can also easily do that from the Launchpad. So let me illustrate this by opening our Enterprise Mobility site by tapping on the SharePlus logo here. So what this does is it opens a URL to our Enterprise Mobility site in a browser which is hosted inside SharePlus itself. So once this web page is presented, I can fully interact with it. For example, viewing any custom web parts you have on a team site homepage, or simply navigating to an important site I use. If you'd like to continue browsing in a fully featured browser, you can easily transition to Safari by tapping on the Open in Safari button on the top left. The key advantage here is that the browser opens right inside SharePlus, allowing you to create a seamless integration between the structured list-based world of SharePoint and the unstructured world of the web page, rendered right inside the application without a context switch for your user. Having seen the navigation-oriented Launchpad, let's see another one focused on facilitating content consumption. You can easily switch between Launchpads by tapping on a button in the top right corner. So I'll choose the News Launchpad here. So the goal of this Launchpad sample is to bring together data and content from a variety of sources into a single content consumption-oriented Launchpad. In this case, our user may be done with their client-facing work for the day and would like to find out what's new in the company product development, view the company news, or see their appointment schedule for the week. All of this is available in this Launchpad, which displays company news in the content rotator, product development forums below the content rotator, and frequently used documents, as well as calendar appointments in the tabs on the right. I can navigate to any of the underlying data lists simply by tapping on the links which they comprise. So by tapping on one of these industry trends, I'm able to immediately go to this discussion forum and I'm able to add a response, for example. Going back to the Launchpad, I can easily access the community sites by tapping on communities. Going back, I can access the frequently used documents and view the calendar appointments, directly opening these into the native view that SharePlus renders. So you can see how quickly and seamlessly I'm able to access content from this Launchpad and how it integrates the rich functionality of SharePoint with the at-a-glance visual navigation of a web page. And also notice how rich the data presentation looks here. All this richness comes from the ability to present data using any format we choose in the HTML code of the Launchpad. In terms of getting access to the data itself, you can easily integrate with any web service or SharePoint data itself using the SharePlus JavaScript API, which allows you to present all the data you'd like to have in a flexible and user-friendly format. The second major challenge in front of mobile workers is content discovery. When a mobile user is away from the office, they need to be made aware of relevant content that becomes available. This is because mobile users just don't have the time to browse the site structures to find content by themselves. they need relevant content proactively brought to them. SharePlus Enterprise implements native support for SharePoint 2013 social collaboration features, as well as unique capabilities to address the discovery challenge and make mobile users productive. This social content hub is accessible by tapping the topmost item in the navigation panel, which is titled with my username. So let's explore these capabilities. In this view, for example, I can see a history of all the newsfeed updates that I've made as a user. So you can see I've liked posts of some of my fellow users, I've followed some content, I've participated in conversations, and I can very easily reply to any of these threads. I can like, unlike, I can follow any of this content. And this is key for a mobile user because it enables them to very easily navigate and to very easily participate in conversations which are happening with mobile users or with users still in the office. In addition to posting newsfeed updates and viewing conversations that a user is participating in, I can also see all the mentions. So these are status updates by other users where I'm explicitly mentioned. So for example, someone requires my input, they would mention me, this would show up in my list of mentions, and I will directly respond to it. So the value of having these conversations happen inside SharePoint itself is that this provides an integration between the conversations and the content that they revolve around. So for example, if certain changes need to be made to documentation, I could very easily mention that a certain document needs to be updated to the user who's responsible, or find out who's responsible to begin with, and directly talk to them and collaborate around this content without leaving the application. I can also see the content I'm following. I can see the content I've liked. So these are different views which allow me to navigate very easily to content that I find handy. In addition to this, I can view the profiles of people that I'm following and the profiles of people that are following me. And very easily, by tapping on one of these icons, I can access the profile of this user, and I can see their status updates. I can see the conversations that they're participating in. And for example, if I'm not following this user, I can decide that this user is very valuable to me in terms of access to content, in terms of the conversations that they're participating in, so I would decide to follow them as well. In addition to this, I can easily access my profile information. So this is profile information that's stored in SharePoint, and it can be very handy when a user is out there on the road, because once I find a user who may be aware of the response to a very important question which I need answered right now, I can immediately have their contact information and I can reach out to them directly from my mobile device. In addition to the social collaboration features, one of the key capabilities in SharePoint is accessible through the SharePlus Social Content Hub. This is the access to a user's personal storage area managed by SharePoint. I can easily access this area simply by tapping on the My Content icon here right at the bottom. So storing personal content is very important for users, as they need a storage area for drafts and local copies that they can share with others before actually uploading a final version to SharePoint for everyone to see. And there is a number of free services for personal cloud storage which are very popular and provide users with convenient applications for desktop and mobile devices. However, as they store data in the cloud and are managed by a third party with no guarantees of security, availability, and backup, they can present not only a challenge to integrating disparate data sources, but can also result in lost productivity and leaks of important company content. So SharePoint provides a solution to this challenge through the personal storage area called OneDrive, previously known as My Site in SharePoint 2010. And SharePlus fully supports this capability natively and provides offline access to the user's personal OneDrive. And this is exactly what you're seeing here. Through the My Content view, I'm actually seeing the OneDrive of my current user. And this is mapped just like a document library, just like a personal site. And you can see how I can access all of the items which I have access to, just like I would access any other SharePoint content. You can see all the documents which I have in my OneDrive. You can see the items that I've shared with other people, and I can very easily open and edit these just like any other SharePoint content. I've actually offline synchronized the documents view, so even when I'm offline, even when I'm out of connectivity, I would still be able to access these documents. I would still be able to preview, edit, annotate these documents, and process them in any other way I would like to. This is a very important capability because it presents a much better solution for the storage of personal and shared files that's hosted right inside your organization, serviced, backed up, and secured by you. This capability has enabled a lot of our customers to provide a viable alternative to cloud storage services and to effectively ban their use, allowing them to achieve a high level of user productivity within the security of the internal company network using SharePlus to access the OneDrive or My Site area of the users. The second approach to enable users to stay updated with new content as it becomes available is the use of content update alerts. You can view the alerts by tapping on the Alerts tab in the timeline of the Social Content Hub. This is a feature only available in SharePlus Enterprise, which allows users to indicate which files, lists, and document libraries they'd like to track for changes. When SharePlus Enterprise synchronizes with the SharePoint server and it detects that changes were made to content that has an alert defined on it, it presents the list of these changes in a dialog box to the user. So for example, if I'm a salesperson that's visiting customers for a few days and all the product information sheets are kept in a document library, I can easily set an alert on that document library so I would know immediately when a new product information sheet is added to the folder instead of my colleagues having to email me to let me know there is newly available content. So let me show you how to define an alert on a document library. I'll first open the Sites view, and then I'll navigate through one of the sites to a document library. Tap and hold on the document library. Then from this little pop-up, tap on the little bell button on its top right corner. This activates alerts for this document library, and from this point on, any changes made to this library would cause an alert to be displayed and an alert to be logged inside the alerts view in the Social Content Hub, in this view here. So this view lists all the alerts which happened over time, and it allows me very easily to navigate directly from these alerts here. So let's upload a file to the folder I just accessed, and let's trigger an alert. So let me upload one of these files here to that location. Copy to, and then I'll choose Documents, Contoso. Save here. I'm asked whether I'd like to modify the metadata for this file. I won't modify it in any way. I'll just upload the file as it is. So I need to confirm that I check in this file because currently it will remain checked out to me. I'm setting the major and minor versions for this check-in. I'm tapping done, and the file will be uploaded. You can see how synchronization happens automatically with SharePlus every time an idle time period elapses. So as soon as this file is updated and the server copy of the document library now has this file, SharePlus will confirm that this file is now new to this document library and will display an alert saying that this document library has changed. And in this case, you can see this alert appeared immediately, and it tells me that the document library has changed and that there's a new item added to the list. I would see the exact same alert if a file was deleted or if a new version of a file was uploaded. So from this view, I can directly navigate to the document library in question. I can navigate to the alerts view, and from here, by simply tapping on this latest entry, I can navigate directly to the document library where content was added, and I can open it from here with one tap. So you can see how easily I'm able to track changes being made to important content that I'm interested in. In addition to this, you can also define alerts on individual files. So just follow the exact same procedure, tap and hold, and from the context menu, tap on the little bell icon. This will trigger an alert for this file every time there is a change made to it. Alerts are maybe one of the most powerful features that doesn't get as much attention by users initially, but once they start using this feature, they find out just how powerful it is. And I hope you can appreciate how this functionality, unique to SharePlus Enterprise, keeps users up to date with new content while they're away from the office, and through its convenience and ease of use, makes a big difference in the productivity of the mobile user. The most frequently used content discovery method is search, and SharePlus Enterprise fully supports the content-based search available in SharePoint. The user can access this functionality simply by tapping on the search item in the navigation panel on the left. So now that I'm looking at the search view, I can very easily enter a search term. For example, let's say I'm interested in all the documents which contain the word sales. So this fires off a search on the server using the content indexing engine provided by SharePoint, which fully indexes the content of the actual documents, not just their metadata. So looking at all these results here, I'd like to hopefully cut those down to the type of content that I need. So for example, if I know I'm looking for Word documents, if I know I'm looking for documents which were modified in the last 24 hours or last week, last month, if I'd like to limit my search to only certain sites, you can see how easy it is for me to set these filters and to arrive at a much smaller result set that I can very easily use to navigate with one tap. So let's say I found the file that I've needed, and simply by tapping it, I'm able to open it immediately. So you can see how easily I was able to access the search, perform a content-based search, and access the content that matches my search terms. In addition to content-based search, SharePlus Enterprise also supports people search. This is available by tapping on the people icon here right at the bottom. So people search allows a user to search within the SharePoint profiles of other users, and is very useful in finding relevant workers working in a similar location or in a different location, but in the similar function. So for example, let me find all of my colleagues who have the word marketing in their SharePoint profile. So these are all the profiles of people who have marketing in their profile, and you can see that they're all members of the sales and marketing team. Of course, I can search also based on location or any other word which appears in their profile. And from here, I can directly open these profiles. So for example, I can open the file. I can open the profile of Ali Bellew, and I can see her newsfeed updates. I can see what content she's following. I can like her updates. I can respond to the conversations that she's participating in, and I can mention her in my updates, which would allow her to contribute to the conversations, to the questions that I'm asking her directly. So I hope you can see how the search support implemented in SharePlus Enterprise enables users not only to search for content very quickly and effectively, but also to connect to their coworkers, which enables the establishment of ad hoc community collaboration and encourages content sharing while using a mobile device.